Chosen ones, let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how the very people who should clap the loudest for you, your own blood, your own family, suddenly grow silent when you rise? Have you felt that cold distance, that strange energy when you achieve something that should have brought everyone joy? This message has found you at the perfect time, and it is not by accident. Spirit led you here, because this truth will unlock something deep within your soul and bring you clarity about why your path has been so different. I need you to pause for a moment, breathe, and know this. If you are listening right now, you are not here by coincidence. You are marked, you are chosen, and heaven has directed your steps. If you feel that pull in your spirit, I want you to comment 777 below, because that is the number of divine alignment. And if you know you are selected, I urge you to subscribe to this channel, Divine Calling. Stay with this light, because this is where the truth is spoken, where the path is revealed, and where the chosen find their guidance. Stay with me until the very end, because what I reveal there will completely change your life. Chosen ones, let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how the very people who should clap the loudest for you suddenly grow silent when you rise? I'm talking about your own blood, your own family. Have you felt that cold distance when you achieve something that should have brought everyone joy? Have you sensed that strange energy around you at those times? This message has found you at the perfect time. It is not by accident. Spirit led you here. This truth will unlock something deep within your soul. It will bring you clarity about why your path has been so different. I need you to pause for a moment and breathe. Know this, if you are listening right now, you are not here by coincidence. You are marked, you are chosen, and heaven has directed your steps. If you feel that pull in your spirit, comment 777 below, because that is the number of divine alignment. If you know you are selected, subscribe to this channel, Divine Calling. Stay with this light and stay with me until the very end. The spiritual reason behind family resistance. Chosen ones, listen closely. There is a spiritual architecture beneath every family dynamic, and many of the reactions you face are not merely human quirks. They are energetic responses rooted in old patterns, ancestral programs, and the shifting frequency that your success brings into the household. When you rise, you do more than succeed in the world. You shift the vibration of the field you belong to. That shift reveals hidden things, fear, envy, ancestral wounds, and agreements that have lived quietly for generations. Your light pries open those hidden doors, and what pours out is often misunderstanding masquerading as criticism or distance disguised as indifference. At the soul level, families are often bound by contracts and karma. These are not curses in the simple sense, but agreements, unseen scripts that dictate roles. The caretaker, the struggler, the dissenter, the quiet one. When you break your assigned role by stepping into abundance, authority, or spiritual prominence, the system resists. It resists because systems protect themselves. Imagine a dam that has held water for decades. When a new current starts to flow, pressure builds and cracks appear. Your calling is that current. The cracks are uncomfortable for those who have been comfortable with the old architecture. They react not always from malice, but from survival, spiritual survival of identity they have held on to. Another deep principle at work is projection. When you succeed, you mirror possibilities to those around you that they secretly desire but refuse to accept for themselves. Instead of celebrating, they watch their own unfulfilled dreams reflected in your life, and they respond with judgment or denial. This is projection in its spiritual form, seeing in you what they cannot own. The jealous thought is often accompanied by a spiritual fear. If you become more, will there be less left for them? This scarcity thinking is a collective frequency in many families, especially when survival has been tight for generations. Your success challenges that scarcity frequency. Your breakthroughs feel like a threat, even though on a soul level they are an invitation for everyone to expand. Envy cloaked as advice is another spiritual mechanism. Family members may offer helpful criticisms that actually serve to tether you back to the status quo. They speak from old timelines where your greatness would have been unbearable or dangerous. They speak from places of constricted imagination. As a spiritual scholar, I tell you, reject the voice that seeks to minimize the soul. Hear the advice, sift truth from fear, and choose the counsel that increases your light. The rest is simply the echo of conditioned limitation. There is also the matter of ancestral fear and inherited shame. Many families carry shame about success because it once attracted punishment, ostracism, or loss. Ancestors who rose and were persecuted pass down a cautionary imprint: do not shine too bright. These imprints are subtle, and they lie beneath kindness or practicality. They manifest as worry, as "we're just being realistic," or as sudden claims that your success will change you for the worse. Know this: these warnings are relics, not prophecies. They belong to a past timeline that sought safety through smallness. Your task is to redeem that past by proving that expansion can be holy and restorative. Fear of displacement is another deep spiritual root. When you achieve, roles shift. Parents may unconsciously worry about losing authority. Siblings may fear a shift in family hierarchy. Children in the family system tend to hold positions of powerlessness or rebellion. Your rise destabilizes that map. Such resistance is not personal to you. It is the family defending a map it learned to navigate. You are not the map, but the cartographer changing it. Change evokes confusion. Be patient with the confusion, but immovable in your purpose. There is a mystical law that bright souls often travel a lonely corridor for a time. This corridor is not punishment, it is refinement. Spirit often allows a period of separation to recalibrate the frequency of those still bound to older agreements. In that time you are tested and tempered. The resistance you feel is part of that tempering. It refines your compassion. It clarifies who will walk with you and who will eventually follow when their own shadows are healed. Stay humble in your power. Do not use solitude as arrogance. Let it be a holy retreat where your resolve is strengthened. Understand also that some of the harshest responses come from those who love you most. Love, unexamined, can become possessive. Families unconsciously tie identity to their members' roles. When you evolve, those who relied on your previous identity may grieve as if something precious is being taken. This grief can express as anger, withdrawal, or undermining comments. See it with compassion, but do not mistake sentimentalism for wisdom. Compassion does not require surrendering your destiny. There is a spiritual principle of testing. The higher the calling, the fiercer the refining. Your entering into greater purpose will attract tests designed to reveal whether you are moved by applause or anchored by destiny. The family's inability to celebrate you is often one of those tests. It shows whether your joy depends on external validation or on an inner covenant with Source. Pass this test by returning to your center. Let praise be welcome, but not necessary. Let rejection inform your growth, not dictate it. Finally, remember your sovereignty. Spiritual insight does not call you to sever love, it calls you to redefine it. Family bonds are sacred, but they are not shackles for your soul. When you understand the spiritual reasons behind resistance, you do not shrink from them. You illuminate them. You bring healing to the field by holding steady in your frequency, by praying for those who cannot yet see, and by creating boundaries that protect your expansion. Your success then becomes a beacon, not a weapon. Chosen ones, this is not a tale of blame. It is a map. Knowing the spiritual reasons gives you clarity and mercy. It allows you to move with both power and tenderness. You will not convince every heart, nor should you try. Some doors will open only when others are ready to receive them. Walk on with the calm of the river that knows its destination. Your rising disturbs the surface because it was meant to. In the disturbance, healing begins. Human nature and ego in the family context. Chosen ones, let us shift for a moment from the spiritual dimensions to the very real patterns of human nature. You see, not every reaction from your family is purely spiritual warfare or ancestral programming. Much of it flows from the human ego, the way people protect their sense of identity, status, and significance within the family structure. Understanding this will help you navigate the storm without bitterness and with clarity. The ego is fragile. It survives by comparison, by measuring itself against others. Within the family, this comparison is constant. Siblings are measured against each other. Who is smarter? Who is more successful? Who is favored? Parents measure themselves by their children. Did their offspring fulfill the dreams they once had, or surpass what they themselves achieved? Relatives measure by tradition, by who followed the expected path and who broke away. When you rise beyond those expectations, the ego feels threatened. Not because you are wrong, but because your success unsettles the scale that others use to measure their worth. Think about it. Your brother or sister has known you since childhood. They remember your mistakes, your immaturity, your failures. In their mind, you are frozen in that old image. The ego clings to it because it keeps them safe. If they accept that you have truly grown, truly transformed, they would have to look in the mirror and ask, "Why not me?" That question pierces the ego, so instead of facing it, they deny your change, belittle your progress, or ignore it altogether. Parents, too, wrestle with ego. A parent might feel overshadowed if their child becomes more accomplished or spiritually awakened than they ever did. Consciously, they may feel proud, but unconsciously, there can be discomfort. The ego whispers, "If my child is more, what does that say about me?" This is not always spoken, but it can show in subtle ways, distant praise mixed with hints of discouragement, or the inability to express genuine joy. As the chosen one, you must recognize that this struggle is not about you failing to earn their love, but about them wrestling with their own sense of identity. Relatives extend this dynamic further. Many families have a hierarchy of roles: the golden child, the overlooked one, the troublemaker, the achiever. These roles are set early and rarely challenged. But when you rise in ways that defy the label you were given, the hierarchy trembles. A cousin who always considered themselves the star may find your rise unbearable. An uncle or aunt who took pride in guiding you may feel displaced when you surpass their wisdom. Ego thrives on familiarity, and your transformation introduces unfamiliar terrain. There is also the dynamic of competition. Families, whether they admit it or not, often compete internally. Who has the better job, the nicer home, the most recognition? This competition is subtle, wrapped in polite conversation, but it is there. When you, the chosen one, step out of the competition by aligning with divine purpose, your very presence disrupts the game. You no longer play by the rules of comparison, yet others still measure themselves against you. They cannot celebrate because, in their mind, your win is their loss. Another element of ego is control. Families often seek to keep members within predictable boundaries. This is not always malicious. Sometimes it is rooted in the desire to keep everyone safe. But ego interprets control as security. When you no longer fit within those boundaries, the family feels they have lost control, and ego reacts with resistance. Comments like, "Don't forget where you came from," or "Don't get too big-headed," are often coded messages of control. They are not reminders of humility, but attempts to anchor you back to the old self they are comfortable with. Yet, remember this: ego is not the enemy, but an unhealed ego can become a stumbling block. The family ego resists your rise because it has not yet been illuminated by truth. You, as the one chosen, are called to see beyond it. This does not mean you must tolerate disrespect or minimize your achievements, but it does mean you should recognize the source. It is not always hatred. It is often fear, insecurity, and the desperate attempt to preserve an identity that feels threatened by your transformation. Here is the paradox. Those who resist you most fiercely may actually admire you deeply. They just cannot admit it, even to themselves. Their silence, Their criticism, their coldness, are often masks covering envy mixed with longing. They wish they had your courage, your connection, your favor. Instead of saying, "Teach me," ego says, "Pull them down." This is why you must never let their reactions define you. Chosen ones, you must also be aware of your own ego in this process. When family fails to celebrate you, your ego may feel wounded. You may be tempted to prove yourself, to flaunt your success, or to demand recognition. This too is a trap. Do not let your ego engage in the same competition. Your path is higher. Your recognition comes from above, not from earthly applause. Keep your heart free from pride, for pride is simply the ego's mask of insecurity. Understand this truth. The family context is the training ground where the ego reveals itself most clearly. Their ego resists your rise, and your ego craves their validation. Both are illusions. Your growth lies in transcending both illusions. Love them, but do not bow to their disbelief. Respect them, but do not shrink to fit their comfort. Walk in humility, but also in boldness, knowing that you are not defined by who claps for you, but by the one who called you. Human nature and ego explain much of what you experience with family. When you combine this with the deeper spiritual reasons, you see the full picture. Resistance is inevitable, but resistance does not diminish your destiny. It only sharpens your awareness. Ego may blind them now, but your consistent light will one day expose the truth. Until then, walk free from the chains of comparison, for your worth was never theirs to measure. Signs. Your family can't handle your success. Chosen ones, it is not always what your family says that reveals the truth. It is often what they do not say. Many of you have already felt it deep within your spirit, the quiet tension that creeps in whenever your blessings are mentioned. Today, I want to help you see the signs clearly, so you no longer doubt yourself or question your journey. The signs are often subtle, but once your spiritual eyes open, you cannot unsee them. One of the clearest signs is silence. You achieve something that deserves applause, a promotion, a breakthrough, a testimony, and the very people who should be the loudest in celebration remain quiet. They may nod politely, change the subject, or even look uncomfortable. That silence is louder than words. It is not that they did not hear, it is that they could not handle what they heard. Silence, in this case, is a shield against their own feelings of inadequacy. Another sign is minimizing your success. You share your accomplishment, and instead of honoring it, they find ways to reduce it. "Oh, that's good, but anyone could have done it." Or, "It's nice, but let's see how long it lasts." They throw in little reminders that you are not as special as your breakthrough suggests. This is not harmless banter. It is an attempt to anchor you back into the role they prefer to see you in. Minimization is envy wearing a friendly mask. Then there are the passive-aggressive remarks. These can be cloaked as jokes, but carry a sting. They might laugh and say, "Don't forget us little people when you're famous," or "Looks like you think you're better than everyone now." They may pretend it is humor, but in reality, it is a release valve for their discomfort. Humor is the disguise the ego uses when it wants to strike without appearing cruel. Watch also for sudden excuses when you invite them to witness your achievements. Perhaps you want them at your graduation, your business launch, your spiritual event, and they suddenly cannot make it. They are too busy, too tired, or too distracted. Yet, these same people had time for other things. Their absence is not about their schedule. It is about their inability to handle the environment of your elevation. Being present would force them to confront feelings they would rather avoid. A deeper sign is the way they speak about you to others. Instead of celebrating your victories publicly, they downplay them. They may say, "Yes, they're doing okay, but they've always been lucky." Or, "Sure, they're succeeding, but let's see if they can keep it up." When family cannot give you genuine honor in the presence of others, it reveals the discomfort they carry privately. Notice also the shift in energy. When you are struggling, they may be warm, supportive, and present. But when you begin to rise, that warmth cools. Conversations become shorter. Interactions feel strained. They may no longer ask how you are doing because they do not want to hear the answer. The change in their energy is not your imagination. It is their spirit reacting to your growth. Sometimes it shows in competition. A family member who never cared about certain things suddenly feels the need to outdo you. If you buy a new car, they suddenly need one too. If you travel, they make sure to mention their plans. This is not coincidence. It is rivalry born from insecurity. Your rise provokes them to prove they are not being left behind. And then there is the hidden celebration of your failures. When something goes wrong for you, they seem a little too calm, a little too relieved. They may even say, "I told you so," or "That's why you should have listened." Their comfort in your struggle is a sign that your success unsettled them more than your hardship ever did. They may never admit it, but their relief betrays them. Chosen ones, you must also recognize the spiritual weight behind these signs. Each one points to a heart that cannot yet align with your destiny. These signs are not reasons to harden your heart, but reasons to guard it. When you see the silence, the minimization, the passive remarks, you are being shown who can walk with you and who cannot. Do not despise them, but do not deny the truth. If you recognize these signs in your own family, comment 333 below, because that number is a symbol of divine confirmation. By acknowledging these truths, you affirm that you are awake, that you see what once was hidden. And remember, chosen one, the absence of their applause does not silence heaven's song over your life. The signs are there not to discourage you, but to remind you that you were never meant to be validated by those bound by ego and fear. Your success is spiritual, eternal, and unstoppable, whether they celebrate it or not. The role of divine isolation. Chosen ones, hear me clearly. When your family cannot celebrate you, it is not simply a rejection. It is part of a greater divine strategy. Isolation is not an accident. It is a sacred assignment. Many of you have felt that sting of loneliness, that ache of being misunderstood by the very people you thought would walk with you. You wondered, why does it feel like I am standing alone, even among those who know me best? The answer is found in the mystery of divine isolation. God often sets His chosen apart, not because you are unloved, but because your calling requires a separation. Just as seeds must be buried in darkness before they sprout, so too must the chosen one experience seasons of hiddenness. Your family's inability to celebrate you is one of the ways Spirit nudges you into that sacred solitude. If they applauded too early, you might settle in comfort instead of pressing deeper into your destiny. Their silence creates a hunger in you, a deeper reliance not on human validation but on divine confirmation. Isolation strips away illusions. When those closest to you cannot see your worth, you are forced to seek the one who gave you that worth in the first place. You stop performing for applause and start aligning with purpose. This is not punishment. It is purification. Divine isolation teaches you to walk by faith, not by sight, to listen to Spirit above every other voice. In solitude, you discover that God's approval outweighs 1,000 family validations. Consider this. Many great prophets, leaders, and spiritual warriors were first isolated. Joseph was rejected by his brothers and cast into a pit before he became a ruler. David was left in the fields, overlooked even by his father, before he was anointed king. Even the Messiah himself was not honored in his hometown. The pattern is consistent. Those who carry divine assignments are often hidden, rejected, or underestimated by family first. Why? Because divine power cannot be nurtured in familiar comfort. It requires the fire of solitude. Isolation also serves to protect you. There are battles your family cannot fight with you, because their lack of vision would only weaken your resolve. If you shared every dream with them, their doubts might poison your faith. So Spirit separates you to shield the vision until it is strong enough to withstand opposition. Like an eagle that builds its nest on high cliffs, you are placed where few can reach you, not to hurt you, but to safeguard what is being birthed in you. Another role of divine isolation is preparation. In solitude, you sharpen your gifts. You learn endurance, discipline, and discernment. Without constant applause, you grow roots deep into the soil of truth. You learn how to pray without ceasing, how to hear the still small voice, how to trust the unseen hand. This preparation ensures that when the doors open and the world sees you, you are unshakable. Those who skip the season of isolation often crumble under the weight of influence, but those who endure it rise with a strength no opposition can shake. Isolation also exposes attachments. When family cannot celebrate you, it reveals who you have been leaning on. Some of you are realizing that you leaned too much on human love, human support, human approval. The divine response is to pull those crutches away so you can stand in your spiritual authority. It is in isolation that you learn you are enough because spirit within you is enough. Chosen ones, let me tell you something important. Loneliness is not the same as being alone. Loneliness is the ache of absence, but divine isolation is the presence of God without distraction. In your solitude, you are never truly alone. The Most High is closer than ever, whispering, guiding, refining. What feels like abandonment is actually an invitation into intimacy with the divine. It is in these seasons that your spiritual senses awaken most sharply. Dreams, visions, revelations, they often increase when you are isolated, because the noise of others has been removed. Family rejection can be painful, yes. But that pain is also a signpost. It means you are stepping into a frequency they cannot yet access. You are not being abandoned, you are being advanced. Rejection closes one door so that divine alignment can open another. When you stop trying to drag everyone with you, you realize that isolation has cleared the way for divine companions, mentors, and helpers to find you. Sometimes God must clear the crowd of the familiar to send the destiny aligned. Isolation is also a test of humility. In the quiet, when no one is clapping, will you still serve? Will you still pray? Will you still remain faithful when nobody notices? This is where the chosen ones are separated from the pretenders. Anyone can shine when surrounded by applause, but only the truly chosen can shine in silence. That is why you have been hidden, not because you were forgotten, but because you were being refined in the shadows. Understand this truth. Your isolation is temporary, but your preparation is eternal. The silence of your family is not the final word. It is part of the divine curriculum. One day, some of those same voices that doubted you will come seeking your guidance, your wisdom, your blessing. But by then, you will not need their validation. You will give freely from a place of abundance, because isolation has taught you that everything you need is already within you. Chosen ones, embrace your divine isolation. See it not as a wound, but as a womb. In that solitude, something holy is being formed. Your vision is maturing, your strength is solidifying, your spirit is aligning. Do not rush to escape it. Do not despise the silence. Stay the course, for in due time, the same God who set you apart will also set you before kings and nations. And when that time comes, you will understand why your family could not celebrate you. It was never meant to break you. It was always meant to make you. Stay with me, because at the end of this journey, everything will be revealed. And that revelation will not only explain your isolation, it will change your life forever. How to respond? Spiritually and emotionally chosen ones, now that you understand the spiritual reasons behind family resistance and the role of divine isolation, the question is, how do you respond? How do you carry yourself when those closest to you cannot celebrate what heaven is doing in your life? This is where wisdom must meet discipline, and where love must meet boundaries. The way you respond will either anchor your growth or delay it, so listen carefully. The first response is to guard your heart. When family silence or criticism wounds you, it can plant seeds of bitterness. But bitterness is a poison, and it only eats away at the vessel that carries it. Guarding your heart means choosing not to internalize their reactions. Their inability to celebrate you is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their vision, their ego, their unhealed wounds. Keep your heart soft so you can continue to love, but strong enough that you do not crumble under their doubt. Spiritually, your weapon is prayer. Not the kind of prayer that seeks to change others against their will, but the kind that strengthens you and blesses them. Pray for clarity, pray for endurance, and pray for their healing. Ask Spirit to release them from envy, fear, and blindness. When you pray for those who cannot celebrate you, you rise above their resistance. Your prayers create a covering, even for those who oppose you. And in time, those prayers may be the very thing that shifts their hearts. Emotionally, you must learn to detach. Detachment does not mean you stop loving them. It means you stop depending on them for validation. Detachment is freedom. When you no longer expect applause, silence no longer stings. When you no longer seek their approval, criticism no longer wounds. This emotional maturity allows you to keep walking in peace, no matter who does or does not walk beside you. Another key response is setting boundaries. Family love is sacred, but love does not mean unlimited access. You can love someone deeply and still limit their influence in your life. If their words constantly discourage you, it is wise to share less of your dreams with them. If their energy drains you, it is healthy to reduce your exposure. Boundaries are not punishment, they are protection. Protect the seed of your destiny until it is strong enough to bear fruit. Chosen ones, you must also cultivate community outside your bloodline. Sometimes the ones who cheer for you most are not relatives by birth, but family by spirit. God will send you divine connections, people who see your light and affirm it without jealousy. Do not close your heart because your family rejected you. Stay open, because Spirit will align you with brothers and sisters in purpose who will water your growth. Your response is to embrace those connections without guilt, knowing that your tribe is chosen by heaven, not just by DNA. Gratitude is another spiritual key. Instead of focusing on who does not celebrate you, focus on the one who lifted you and on the blessings that keep unfolding. Gratitude shifts your vibration. It lifts you above resentment and aligns you with abundance. Each morning, thank Spirit for the doors opening, the lessons learned, the strength gained through rejection. Gratitude transforms isolation into empowerment. It tells the universe, I am ready for more. When you face dismissive comments or passive aggression, respond with calm authority. Do not match their negativity with defensiveness. Instead, hold your peace. Sometimes the greatest response is silence, because silence denies the ego the reaction it craves. Other times, a gentle but firm statement is enough. I respect your view, but I know what God has placed in me. Speak truth without hostility. This balance keeps your spirit clear. Chosen ones, another critical response is self-reflection. Ask yourself, am I being triggered because I still crave their validation? Am I secretly looking for them to affirm what I already know Spirit has affirmed? If the answer is yes, take that to prayer. Release that need. Your journey is about walking in alignment, not collecting approval. The moment you no longer crave their validation, you become unshakable. Learn also to transmute the energy of rejection. When you feel the sting of envy or indifference, do not let it drag you down. Instead, let it fuel your fire. Turn that pain into prayer, that silence into focus, that criticism into determination. The enemy's plan is to use resistance to weaken you. God's plan is to use it to strengthen you. Which one manifests depends on your response. Chosen ones, hear this clearly. Never repay envy with arrogance. Never answer silence with spite. Do not let their inability to celebrate you turn you cold. Your strength is not in proving them wrong. Your strength is in proving your calling true. When you rise above pettiness, you demonstrate your divine maturity. On a deeper level, responding spiritually means remembering that your family, too, are souls on their own journeys. They are wrestling with fears, wounds, and limitations you may not fully see. Their resistance is not always hatred. Sometimes it is the cry of an unhealed heart. Extend compassion even when you must create distance. Forgive them daily, not for their sake alone, but for your own freedom. Forgiveness cuts the cord that envy tries to wrap around your spirit. And finally, remain steadfast in your walk with Spirit. Keep praying, keep fasting if you are led, keep meditating, keep studying. Your consistency is your testimony. As you remain aligned, some of those who doubted you may one day awaken and realize the truth. And even if they never do, your life will still stand as a beacon of divine faithfulness. If you are feeling this word in your spirit, I invite you to comment 444 below, because that number resonates with protection and divine guidance. It is a declaration that you are covered, that your path is secure. Remember, chosen ones, your response is your power. You cannot control how your family acts, but you can control how you rise. Respond with prayer, with boundaries, with gratitude, with love, and with unwavering focus. And when you do, the very resistance that once tried to break you will become the proof that you were never walking alone. The blessing hidden in rejection. Chosen ones, rejection is painful, especially when it comes from those who share your blood, your memories, and your home. But what if I told you that rejection itself carries a blessing, a hidden gift wrapped inside the sting? Many of you have cried out to God asking, "Why can't my family see me? Why can't they rejoice with me?" And Spirit answers, because their rejection is your redirection. What feels like abandonment is actually divine positioning. When your family refuses to celebrate you, you are forced to turn your eyes upward. Their silence pushes you to seek your validation not in man, but in God. This is the first blessing. Rejection removes the idol of human approval. If your family cheered at every step, you might rely on their applause instead of divine confirmation. Their inability to support you teaches you that heaven's voice is louder and more reliable than any earthly one. Another blessing hidden in rejection is resilience. When you learn to walk without applause, you develop a strength that cannot be shaken. Think of a tree rooted deep in the soil. It does not need constant rain. It reaches deeper for water. In the same way, when family rain is withheld, your roots stretch deeper into spirit. You learn endurance, patience, and inner strength. Later, when you face opposition from the world, you will not collapse, because your resilience was forged in the silence of those closest to you. Rejection also reveals clarity. It shows you who is for you and who is not. Without rejection, you might waste years pouring energy into relationships that cannot support your destiny. Family rejection, though painful, is like a divine spotlight showing you where not to plant your trust. This clarity is priceless. It saves you from carrying unnecessary baggage into your future. It also prepares room for the divine connections, the chosen tribe, the spiritual family that God will send to walk with you. Chosen ones, understand this. Rejection is evidence of distinction. If you were ordinary, if you were just like everyone else, you would blend in, and your family would not feel the need to resist you. The fact that they cannot celebrate you proves that you carry something unusual, something holy, something that unsettles the ordinary. That rejection is not a curse, it is a confirmation. Heaven marks you, and earth reacts. The stone that the builders rejected always becomes the cornerstone of something greater. Another blessing in rejection is humility. When family refuses to applaud you, you are less tempted to become prideful. Success without challenge can inflate the ego, but rejection keeps you grounded. You learn to walk with quiet confidence, knowing your worth without shouting it from the rooftops. You learn that true greatness is not about who claps for you, but about who called you. Humility keeps your spirit aligned so that your blessings can multiply without being corrupted by arrogance. Rejection also frees you from limitations. Sometimes families carry unspoken rules. This is as far as we go. This is who we are. This is what we do. When you step outside those lines, they resist you. But that resistance becomes your liberation. Their rejection means you are no longer bound by their expectations. It is a spiritual key that unlocks your freedom to live fully in your purpose. Without that pushback, you might have stayed confined within their box. And let us not forget, rejection often precedes elevation. Before Joseph sat on the throne in Egypt, his brothers cast him out. Before David wore the crown, he was left forgotten in the field. Before many prophets were honored, they were scorned in their own homes. The pattern is divine. Rejection is the prelude to promotion. Spirit allows it so that when you rise, you will know it was by God's hand alone, not by human favor. Emotionally, the blessing hidden in rejection is freedom from dependence. You discover that you can still smile, still thrive, still walk in joy even when those closest to you remain silent. That discovery is liberating. It means you are no longer chained to their moods or their validation. You are free to be yourself fully, authentically, unapologetically. Chosen ones, I want you to hold this truth in your spirit. Rejection is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a greater chapter. What feels like loss is actually gain. What feels like abandonment is actually protection. And what feels like silence is actually God's voice whispering, "I am enough for you." So the next time your family cannot celebrate your success, do not despair. Instead, recognize the hidden blessing. You are being strengthened, clarified, distinguished, humbled, freed, and positioned for something greater. Rejection has never been your downfall. It has always been your launching pad. Embrace it with courage, bless them even in their silence, and walk on with confidence, knowing that heaven celebrates you even when earth does not. That, chosen ones, is the true blessing hidden in rejection. Testimonies and spiritual patterns. Chosen ones, the path you are walking is not new. You are not the first to face rejection from those closest to you, and you will not be the last. What you are experiencing follows a spiritual pattern that has been repeated throughout history. By seeing this pattern clearly, you will find strength, encouragement, and confirmation that you are not walking alone. Look first at Joseph. His own brothers could not handle his dreams. When he shared the vision that one day he would rise above them, they despised him. They could not celebrate the greatness inside him, because it exposed their own fears and insecurities. So instead of cheering, they cast him into a pit and sold him into slavery. Yet that very rejection became the path to his destiny. Without their betrayal, he would never have reached the palace. This is the pattern. Family resistance, pushing the chosen one into divine alignment. Consider David. When the prophet came to anoint a king, David's father did not even bring him in from the fields. His own family overlooked him, certain that greatness could not be found in the shepherd boy. Yet God chose him, not his brothers, to wear the crown. David's story shows us that even when family cannot see the oil on your life, heaven does. Their blindness does not stop your anointing. Even the Messiah himself faced the same pattern. In his own hometown, the people said, "Isn't this the carpenter's son?" They could not accept that divinity rested in someone they grew up with. Familiarity blinded them. And because of their unbelief, miracles were limited in that place. This is a spiritual principle. Sometimes those closest to you cannot receive from you, not because you lack power, but because their eyes are clouded by familiarity. These testimonies are not ancient stories alone. They are living patterns. Many of you have seen this play out in your own lives. You share your breakthrough, and family dismisses it. You share your vision, and they laugh. You step into your purpose, and they distance themselves. Yet later, strangers recognize and honor what your family could not. This too is part of the divine pattern. Often it is those outside your circle who first confirm your calling, because they do not carry the baggage of familiarity. Chosen ones, do not despise this. It is a sign that you are aligned with the same pattern of greatness. The rejection is confirmation, not contradiction. If Joseph, David, and even the Messiah himself faced it, why would you expect your journey to be exempt? You are walking the same road, carved by the truly chosen. I want you to pause and reflect. Can you see this pattern in your life? Can you identify moments when those closest to you doubted you, but God still confirmed you? If so, I want you to comment 999 below, because that number symbolizes completion and fulfillment. It is your declaration that you see the pattern clearly, and you embrace it as part of your divine journey. Remember, testimonies are not meant to discourage you by showing how hard the road is. They are meant to empower you by proving how faithful God has always been. Every chosen soul who faced rejection also walked into elevation. The pit led to the palace. The field led to the throne. The carpenter's son became the cornerstone. The same spirit that guided them is guiding you. So when your family cannot celebrate you, lift your head and take comfort in these patterns. You are not cursed. You are confirmed. You are not abandoned. You are aligned. Their inability to honor you is the very proof that you carry something divine. Let these testimonies remind you that the story always ends in victory for the chosen ones, and yours will be no different. Conclusion and empowering call to action. Chosen ones, you have walked with me through this entire journey, through the silence of family, through the sting of rejection, through the patterns of ego, and through the divine purpose hidden behind it all. Now hear this final truth. Your family's inability to celebrate your success is not the end of your story. It is the very sign that you are walking in destiny. What feels like loneliness is actually divine proof that heaven has set you apart. You must understand this. Not every soul is meant to recognize you. Not every heart is capable of celebrating you. And that is perfectly fine. The Most High did not call you to be understood by everyone. He called you to walk in alignment with His will. Your family's silence, their indifference, even their criticism, all of it is part of the divine design. You are not less chosen because they cannot see you. You are more chosen because their blindness confirms the weight of your anointing. This is the moment where you shift your focus. Stop looking for applause where there is none. Stop expecting love to sound like celebration. Some love you quietly, even if they do not understand. Others resist you openly, because your light exposes what they have hidden. Neither reaction can change your calling. The only thing that can shake your destiny is if you stop believing in what heaven already spoke over you. Chosen ones, stand tall in your spirit. Let their silence remind you that your validation comes from above. Let their rejection push you deeper into intimacy with God. Let their inability to celebrate you become fuel for your perseverance. You are not here to prove them wrong. You are here to prove God right. And nothing, not even the silence of family, can undo that. But I urge you, do not harden your heart. Do not allow bitterness to poison your soul. Walk in love, even when love is not returned. Walk in grace, even when grace is not offered. Forgive them, not because they asked for it, but because your spirit deserves freedom. Forgiveness is the key that keeps you light enough to keep climbing. If you carry the weight of resentment, you will tire too quickly. Let it go, and let God handle what you cannot. And here is the hope. The same ones who could not celebrate you now may one day see clearly. The very ones who dismissed you may one day come to you for guidance, for wisdom, for prayer. Your task is not to wait for that moment. It is to keep shining so that when it comes, you are ready to bless them. Your life will be the testimony that their rejection could not stop you. Chosen ones, if you have felt this word resonate deeply, I invite you now to take a step of faith. Type in the comments your number of alignment, whether it is 777, 333, 444, or 999. Declare it boldly, because when you comment, you are not just typing numbers. You are agreeing with heaven's plan for your life.